reminds me of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
I've never seen that movie.
I just watched it.
It's a classic.
Yeah, it's an absolute classic.
Oh,
Rest in peace, John Candy.
Sure enough.
how we doing, boys?
Good. How are you?
Good. We're live on a podcast right now.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Yeah,
You're
I had a
welcome.
feeling by the way you said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty
Is it a-
solid 4th of July
Oh,
celebration.
Yeah. Happy
Very
birthday,
solid.
America.
Yeah.
Very solid.
You're on the ones and twos, sir.
Oh,
Don't forget yourself.
yeah. Thanks for that reminder.
Just leave it up.
I was living in the moment for a little bit.
Yes. Must be nice to be able to live in the moment.
Yeah, it was a good 4th.
Yeah, thanks to 4am Media for hosting.
Taco,
who are those
Taco
guys?
Man delivered.
Yeah. Taco guy showed up. They were making the masa there, pressing it.
That's
Throwing 'em
real
on the-
SoCal, San Diego,
Yeah, that was very...
right on the border type stuff.
It was really good. Authentica.
Yeah, we got to bring those taco cart back, maybe to a Alfalfa in-person celebration.
I just ate a burrito. I'm like tasting
You had taco stand, I know.
Wow, you had
Yeah.
you had a pre-pod burrito.
Hold on, was that a
Pre-pod burrito.
Mari Tierra, carne asada? What'd you go with?
pod burrito. PPB. I went surf and turf.
Yeah, the Mari Tierra at taco stand
It's
is
so good.
the best piece of food in San Diego. That's the best piece
Really?
of food San Diego has to offer.
Wow.
I
Well,
think it is very.
Hold
up
on,
there.
Nick went to Hane yesterday. Is that
Mhm.
right? That's
Yeah.
another good
Good
spot.
sushi.
Oh.
Good sushi.
That's very good sushi. I feel like we could do a whole episode on San Diego food, and no one would get anything out of it.
I've been watching. I've been watching some YouTubes on San Diego food, and every time I'm like, oh yeah, that's the right spot.
We have a
Good
very
job.
good food scene. Very good.
Well, it's not like a New York
no,
SF, but we got good spots.
I mean SF used to be good.
Man,
New
you're
York is the
such a
best.
hater. You're such a hater of SF. Just like
I'm very
permeated.
honest.
no, SF still has good food.
It's all closed. Most of them have closed. Which ones survived?
I don't know. I went through like 3 waves of closures in my 10 years. So all my favorite places closed, and then new place opened. That was my favorite.
Yeah.
Closed.
Yeah. The SF food scene will come back when the people come back, when
The
the
people.
tech comes back. And it's
Okay.
just, it's going to suffer until then. It's a boom or bust city.
I think it's.
It'll boom again.
I think you're
but it's
too
in a
harsh
bust
on
cycle.
it. If I'm being honest, I think
It's
you're too
in
harsh.
a bust cycle. That is like facts. It's bust.
I wouldn't even call it a bear market. It's just like a slight dip, 5% dip.
You're not buying SF right now. Be honest, you're not buying.
I'm not
it.
buying it.
Have you been lately?
Just the last time we went to interview Zach Abbott for,
Okay, well,
Z-Box.
we didn't do anything or see anything.
we got some ramen.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, yeah, we did. Got some post-interview ramen.
Yeah.
All right, let's get into it. Welcome, everybody, to the Alfalfa podcast. We are live on YouTube, like we are every Wednesday at 5 p.m. PST. Today, we have Eric, Armand, I'm Nick. We have our illustrious co-host, Steven, missing. I don't even know where he is. Do you guys
No.
know where he is?
I know where he is.
No, you didn't tell us.
Why, is this secret? How do you know
He's
where
at
he
a
is?
surprise 40th birthday party
Oh, for someone else.
for someone else.
Is that birthday party happening tomorrow?
Yeah, it could be
And
this
are
weekend.
they a listener?
Could be this weekend. He's just like
Just tuned in live right now?
preparing.
Oh, that would suck.
Wow.
Actually, it'd make it more of a surprise.
I think the surprise person might listen to the pod.
Oh, yeah.
Did we just blow
Definitely
it?
does.
Did we blow it?
Wow.
I don't think they're tuned in live right now. So
Okay,
that's
they're
the
more of
difference.
a audio listener.
Yeah, podcast.
That and the fact that, there's some kind of event happening, so hopefully he's not listening.
Yeah, he's a little busy.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what's going on.
did
It's a
we blow
surprise
it?
party.
That sucks.
Well, we do know who's here. It's our fans and friends in the chat. Dan, Marty, Bruin Black is in the house. Okay, Scott, Tyler, Tom Nom Nom, Franco, Adam, Hookem, Ben. What's up? Thanks for joining us live. Love when you guys join and make the chat a lot more fun. Let's see. All the links are at alfalfapod.com, so you can go check them out there. The links to the Discord are there, and you can support the pod in a few different ways. One of them is to use a super chat on YouTube. If you put a comment in there, your comment goes up on the screen. I think chat's over $69. There's a little text-to-speech action if you want to get dangerous and put your put a voice up on the pod live. There's no filters on there, so be careful, please.
Please.
Yeah, please. You can also check out the on-chain collectibles, pods.media/alfalfa. And Armand had a call to action
I
last
just
week.
checked it. We did get one. I was like, if we didn't get one, I'm never asking for anything again.
Yes, I can't
But we
wait
did
for
get
this.
we did get a good one.
All right, lay it on us.
I haven't even read it. I just saw the title and started laughing. I listened to Persian car salesman Armon. I love this pod. Dudes from interesting, varied, successful backgrounds, just chatting and trying to have a positive impact on each other and their audience. Entrepreneur-centric with a solid dose of life hacks and other alfalfa. From Kho56. Kho, I love you, brother.
Yeah, thanks for telling us
Thank
what our
you.
pod is, because half the time we don't know. So really
that was
appreciate
actually
the
nice.
succinct description. Thank you.
KO. Love it, dude.
I like that.
That's great. Let's see. I think we're drinking a little 4th of July leftovers today. What do we got in your hands here?
I'm drinking 4th of July leftover Modelo.
Okay.
And way before 4th of July leftover Casadores.
Ooh. Okay, I have 4th of July leftover high noons. I got a sleeve of them right here.
Dang, you were prepared.
I don't know why I did that.
I'm gonna
There you
I'm
go.
gonna have to raid your stash.
I'm an
at some
over-orderer.
point.
I always like just get nervous. I'm not going to have enough
I'm
of
just
things.
enjoying myself some Japanese whiskey. So
Hold on, I haven't even tried that still because I was on my colonoscopy
it's
last
about
time.
to be done. So
Wow,
well,
you better hop in, brother.
Yeah,
you
I'm gonna-
might need to mix it up today.
Yeah, I'm gonna hop in. I think.
Yeah, hop in.
All right, let's give a shout out to our wonderful sponsor, ZBiotics. Go to zbiotics.com/alfalfa. Check it out. And thank you, ZBiotics, for saving July 5th because we use a little ZBiotics.
Oh my god!
July 4th.
It was so effective.
Was it?
It was like the most effective it's ever been for me.
Yeah.
For the amount we drank on the 4th of
Because it was
July.
also a long period.
long day where usually I'm like, I'm going to hate my life.
We also mixed a little. We started with
Oh,
some
I mixed
Sancerre,
all day.
rosé, maybe switched to a beer later on.
Ended up having a Scotch freaking tasting with Steven like later in the night. Like I was so nervous for the morning.
And you felt okay.
Oh my god, I felt amazing. I felt like 95% myself, which is like
That's
higher than it's
incredible.
ever been.
That's incredible.
I think
Yeah.
the only
I
thing
usually hope for like 80%. I'm like, that would be huge.
yeah, it's worth it, right?
Yeah.
And I think
Versus zero.
yeah, a shell of yourself,
Yeah.
an ET, just dry help.
It was amazing this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, for basically the cost of one drink, you can save yourself from all those other drinks you have through the rest of the day. So I think Armand gave a good enough testimonial as it is, as we always have every week. So check it out. Use the code Alfalfa to get 15% off and support the pod and support yourself. Thanks, Ebiotics, for sponsoring. Okay, boys. What do we got on deck today? Let's
Yeah. What do
Well,
we
you guys put the agenda together for this week, so
Yeah. Oh,
by the way,
I'm
our-
excited to just like
I'm really proud of this.
React?
Eric and I's content planning meeting. I don't know if the outcome is going to be good, but
17 minutes,
12 minutes.
12 minutes. Yeah,
12
I
minutes.
had no doubt.
Done.
Was it
I had no
12
doubt.
minutes?
At 4:33, Nick sent the link to the fully set up. What do you call it?
Like
Scheduled
the-
live
yeah,
stream,
the live stream.
titled, everything ready to go. I was like, these guys didn't even talk.
Well, I've been
These guys probably said 3 words. And
I've been labeled a satisficer in the past, and I feel like in some ways it can help. You know, where it's just like, yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, good episode.
Well, we're about to find out if the outcome is good enough.
Yeah, we'll see.
Would you say that's the opposite of Steven?
Yeah, Steven would say it's the opposite of Steven.
Okay. Yeah.
But he would say he's like focused on results.
Optimizor.
He's a
Is that the opposite?
optimizer.
Optimizor.
And you're a satisficer?
Satisficer.
Yeah, in this like mental model. I think
Where do
that's
I land in your mental model?
optimizer?
All the way?
No,
Okay.
not nearly as far on the spectrum.
Yeah, I could see it. I am more optimizer leaning. Yeah.
This is all wrong. I can see it.
But I'm pretty satisfied right now. So
Okay.
let's continue.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So one of the things we want to talk about is, we talked last week about what we're reading, what we're watching. I kind of shared the Morgan Housel stuff. I'm curious, what do you guys got on deck? Like, are there anything you're reading, doing, trying to learn? Eric, you want to kick it off?
I'm reading. Yeah, Eric, you want to kick it off?
No, you go.
I'm reading. I'm doing audiobooks. I got a little tired of podcasts, although I still love podcasts, obviously. But I don't think I said this on the pod. I think this was a real life discussion. So one of the things I love about books is that they are thoroughly thought out works to present a thesis. Usually somebody has spent years thinking about that topic, researching that topic, writing and editing and writing and editing, and then there's peer reviews and editors and rounds and rounds and rounds of editing. And I think ultimately that creates a far superior product.
Yeah, imagine if we had that.
So the beauty of a podcast is that it's free flow. Most of the time with podcasts like ours, we don't even know what we're going to say until we show up. We have a few topics lined up, and then we just hit go. And that creates really beautiful discussion, and new novel ideas come to the surface. And oftentimes you're sort of speaking to uncover what you even know about a topic in the first place. Writing is similar, but yet different in the sense that I love this Flannery O'Connor quote, which is that I write to discover what I know. And I think that that's the beautiful thing about writing. So when you get to listen to an audiobook, you're getting this like thoroughly vetted, thought out, edited piece of work. And I'm enjoying that a lot because it has a flow to it. It's chronological. The arguments are presented and laid out really, really thoughtfully. So lately I've been on like a Robert Greene kick.
Oh, Mastery guy?
I love Mastery, so I revisited Mastery, and I'm currently reading his newer book.
It's funny. I just downloaded 48 Laws of Power like 2 days ago. I never read it, but I kept hearing
I
about
downloaded that too, and I haven't read it.
Oh, that is one of the greatest books of all time next
Really?
to Mastery. Oh, my God, yeah.
Oh my God, have I been missing out?
He's got,
Oh my
he's
God.
got 2 on Mount Rushmore?
Neither of you have read 48 Laws of Power?
No.
Wow. Tread gently.
Okay.
It is big. It's big.
Is this like Machiavellian tools, or is this like more like, is it a fancy title for saying this is how you be charismatic and productive?
No, it is both of those things.
Really?
It is really the dark arts, but in a way that I completely personally misinterpreted. Like I avoided that book in college because I thought it was all about how to manipulate people. Just kind of how the Machiavellian aspect of it. But what I learned when I read it, I read Mastery first. And then I was like, okay, Mastery was so good. I got to check out 48 Laws of Power. When I read 48 Laws of Power, I was blown away because I was like, to be honest with you, 48 Laws of Power I hold very close and near and dear because it's something you don't really want to sit and talk about with people. It's difficult to discuss because there's a lot at stake in the way that he's discussing how you present yourself and how you navigate the world.
Use these tools.
Yeah, you're using the tools constantly. So I definitely recommend it, but it's also difficult to sit and like talk to your coworker or your business partner about it because you're probably going to want to use a lot of those tools. So I misinterpreted that it was dark in that I always thought that Mastery was an internal game and it was all about philosophy and like who you show up as in the world and like just simply the relationship almost like from a stoic perspective that you have with yourself. What I learned through 48 Laws of Power is that whether you want to or not, you are playing within the power dynamics of the world. And so either you're a proactive player who understands the rules of the game and you show up appropriately, or you get eaten up and you don't even understand why you're getting eaten up. So very excited for you guys. It's an incredible book. You may not like it, but for me, I loved it because you get all the stories from Mastery, all the historical anecdotes combined with like really sort of like prescriptive things to do. So anyway, that's Strong Testament 40 Laws of Power. The one I'm reading, I can never remember the title, is called the...
It's another Robert Greene.
It's another Robert Greene, but it's like newer. And
Well, while you look that up, I just want to say something about the dark arts. When I read a book back in college days, I think it was maybe Nick, your recommendation,
Influence?
or Amit's, but yeah, Robert Cialdini,
Yeah.
Influence,
yeah.
where I was like, wow, these tools can be used.
Yeah, that's like the GOAT marketing book.
Yeah, so I think when I was reading Cialdini, I was like, maybe not thinking of how I can use the tools, but it's like how I can see the world using the tools against me, perhaps, and like using it like as defense, maybe.
What's the one I remember most about there? It's like you walk into a car dealership and like they offer you like a bottle of water or a can of soda,
right?
And you have this like feeling of reciprocity.
Yes.
And then like you feel like, well, okay, well he gave me something. I should probably borrow a car from him.
You got to turn it down. You got to turn down the gift because you don't owe him anything.
Exactly. That happened when I was at the Mercedes dealership. It's like no water. I read the book.
Okay, I found the one. It's The Laws of Human Nature.
Okay.
So this is his most recent or one of his most recent books. Yeah. Oh no, not that. 2018. Anyway, love Robert Greene.
You guys read multiple books at the same time, or listen to multiple books at the same time?
Yeah.
I got
No.
a
I'm like the type that likes to go cover to cover.
I'm doing 2 right now. Thinking in Bets and How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis. He's the guy who started Maxim magazine.
I read that.
It's hilarious.
That's such a good book, actually.
Like his like the way he writes it is so casual and just to the point. It's
Okay, here's a quote I always remembered from that book.
like,
If it flies, floats, or fucks, always rent.
that's from that book.
Yeah.
Jesus.
So he said, like, always, like, you never buy a plane, never buy a boat. And then he's talking about his, like, ex-wives.
Jesus. I rarely throw a book away, but I read a book called The Art of Laziness, Rethinking Productivity. And it was one of the worst books. Like, I for reading, I was quickly skipping through it, trying to see if I could find some goodness. Usually I donate books I don't even want to read. This one, straight to the trash, unfortunately.
You don't want anyone.
You don't want anyone to read it. It's so bad. What do you got, Eric?
I got a fun one for you. What I saw, which was pretty fun, the trailer for the new Gladiator movie. Did you guys see the trailer was just released?
I haven't seen the
I
trailer.
did.
Oh my god.
I don't
Does it
know.
look good?
I'm kind of nervous.
Okay, so first of all,
So it's about Lucius, right?
yeah, so the son,
Yeah.
so was it his son?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. But Denzel's in there.
Oh, no way.
Denzel's in there, and he's like using like a New York accent. Like he's just straight
He's
Denzel.
Roman, but
He's not. He's like in ancient Rome.
New
but
York.
because he's just like he's not like trying at all. He's just like normal Denzel.
What?
And there was
make
like
sense.
and like the trailer had like Kanye in the back, like as the backtrack to the trailer with Denzel. I was like, huh.
Oh, you're losing me.
Yeah, but it was like also just like that, like, you know, it gets you riled up to like
Shit.
go to
So
war.
many good quotes
Okay.
and lines from original Gladiator that honestly, if this one's
no
bad
way.
and it disappoints, like it still won't take away from me because it's been 20 years.
Yeah, was when Maximus like unveils his face, was that like one of the best movie lines of all time? Maybe
Yeah. Definitely.
father to a murdered son,
Yeah,
husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance.
In this life or the next.
Yes.
We
Yeah,
we still
it's-
we still shake each other's hands and say strength and honor
Yeah,
sometimes.
we strengthen honor.
Oh, that's a big part of this trailer, by the way.
Abs-
Strength and honor.
No way.
Yeah,
Is it?
They kept it.
I remember when,
Oh, my God.
when it came out, my buddy in high school got strength and honor tattooed on his arm.
No way.
Yeah.
Strength and honor almost got me in a fight one time.
Yeah,
That was for Eric.
yeah. Yeah, I remember.
If you guys, since we're talking about movie trailers, there's a new Brad Pitt movie coming out called F1. It's Formula One, and at the races, they've been filming as part
Oh.
of the whole circuit. Like they
So
have
it's
their
gonna
own
be-
garage.
It's gonna be pretty realistic.
They have cars. They don't go during the race, obviously, but they're like during the practice sessions. When they line up for the national anthem, they're actually there. And when they've been filming the broadcast, they just barely cut them off. But so it's going to look pretty realistic. Like all the real racers are part of it.
That's cool. New
Yeah.
Twister's coming out in a month.
Get
I like Twister. Come on
Get
now.
outta here.
What about European championships, Armand? You been keeping up with that?
Oh, can we talk about
The
stuff
Euros?
like that? Oh, my God. What a game today.
That's what I've been watching.
England squeaking through.
Man.
Squeaking.
England
They
versus
just
Spain
keep
in the
squeaking
final.
through. Yeah.
That's been a good watch.
I mean, the better team between the two, they haven't gone head to head, but like objectively has been Spain. They've been the most exciting team to watch. But got to give credit to England for getting to the final.
England's got so much talent on the
So much
on
talent.
the roster.
They've
like-
always underperformed.
yeah.
So it's cool to see them actually perform. I know the English and the English fans are very happy.
Nick
That's
is quickly
huge.
Googling what soccer is.
Steven, help me. Just help come pull me out of this.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
huge.
That's fun.
And then you've got Messi in another final.
this guy is just a champion.
Dude, he's about to win another Copa America if he can beat the winner of Uruguay or Colombia. So,
Okay, here's a question for you as a big Messi fan. Do you like Copa America? Is this like a big thing? Because he just beat Canada in the semifinals. Is that like a big accomplishment? Beat Canada.
it was huge for Canada to get to that stage. That's not saying anything negative about. I mean, you have the whole like North, South America, involved in this thing. It's huge, huge. So many talented teams. And historically,
Like the United
the South
States.
American teams are as powerful. They're the best. They're the World Cup winners. Brazil and Argentina and Uruguay have won the majority of the World Cups. So to dismiss the Copa America is really foolish. That's a very European-centric thing that people do. Now, European football is really exciting, and there's a lot of really fun countries to watch in Europe. Like all of a sudden, you're watching Georgia or Slovenia.
Slovenia's
This
really
is
good.
really exciting. I think that there is a true Euro-centric aspect to the game that people enjoy more. The game in Europe is much more interesting and dynamic and a little cleaner, a little more technical, a little more like beautiful to watch, whereas the South American game has become really aggressive.
It's brutal.
Brutal. I mean, it's like a knife fight.
Yeah, it is. It really is.
And it didn't used to be that way. That's why Ronaldinho just recently pissed on his own country.
I saw that. He said he won't watch.
He's like, this is despicable. Brazil is terrible to watch. They used to be beautiful. Joga bonito. Play beautiful.
Yeah.
They're not playing beautiful. They're out. And for that reason. So lately, yeah, I'm more like Europe, Euro Cup is like more exciting. But I mean, the Copa America has been awesome too. And to get to see Messi walk away with another trophy would be unreal.
Well, thank you for indulging me in that sports talk, guys.
It's becoming a popular topic in the Discord. So
It's fun.
regardless of what Nick thinks about this, I enjoyed that.
I got text messages about our hypothetical.
Our hypothetical sports conversation last week.
Yeah, I don't want to get into it, but it's a fun topic. So
Yeah,
maybe
people like sports.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, interesting. Actually, I was on a call today, and it was a first meeting, and the guy was like building rapport, and he's like, "I know you're American, but do you follow European soccer?" And like, as I'm nodding on the Zoom, I'm like looking up the current like leaderboard, and I'm like,
Yes.
"Oh yeah, this game."
Yes.
I love that
England.
it's like at least people are aware and
Yeah,
talking about it.
it's been a lot of
cool
fun.
to see. Dude, and we have so much happening at the same time, like Copa America and Euros. Like it's
And
so-
Wimbledon's going on. You guys don't care about that, but I've been watching that.
Olympics apparently.
Olympics
I
are
haven't
coming
seen
up.
Any Olympics?
It's been incredible.
Oh, one last recommendation, like what we're reading, watching. I watched this new Netflix documentary. The same producers that did the Formula One Drive to Survive did one called Sprint, and they obviously did it leading up to the Olympics. And they look at specifically like the 100 and 200 meter sprinters. So think like Michael Johnson, Usain Bolt,
Yeah.
the current people who are like they
Like
train.
the fastest man on earth. I
Yes.
think that's a great title.
Yeah, and the U.S. has got a pretty stacked roster. I think the Jamaicans obviously always have one. So anyway, it's just a cool behind the scenes leading up to if you're going to watch the sprinting races, both men's and women's.
Where do you find that on Netflix?
Yeah, Netflix.
Cool.
It's a fun one. All right, so next topic. I have some friends. I was hanging out with one lately, and he goes, "I'm very security oriented," and I'm like, "What does that mean?" And he mentioned how he has lots of guns, but even in his house, he's very security oriented. So I imagine he has like, guns everywhere in the place. He lives in Florida, by the way, and guns everywhere in the place. He's got cameras, systems, and I realize like I am at 0 in home defense. Like I'm at a null state, and I live in a condo building, so like I guess there's a little,
Yeah, you're not like on the first floor either. Like
Right.
you're kind of safe up there.
yeah, there's like you have to get into the door, and then you have to like go through like a front desk guard person, and
Do you
then,
need like a fob
Yeah,
to
and then-
get up the elevator?
then you need a key in order to
Yeah,
get up.
yeah.
So like there is a little bit, but I don't know. I just imagine myself like in a home, or even in the condo now, and I want to know what are the must-haves, like the basics, and then what if you wanted to go full paranoia mode, like full Home Alone
yeah.
setup.
What's the 80-20 though? And
Booby traps.
first
Yeah.
of all, like I'm on your speed, so I have a home, but I don't even have security cameras. I don't even have like a Ring doorbell. I have nothing.
Ooh,
An alarm.
No. Like most times, I don't even lock my door.
you have a bolt, like a hard
Yeah,
bolt?
I
Okay.
do, but like I don't even flip it until
What
it's
are
like
you living
nighttime.
in like Iowa? What do you mean you don't lock your door?
Well, I just like
I didn't lock my door when I had an apartment.
a little
often.
Pleasantville-ish out there in the burbs.
I mean, when you're in an apartment in a high-rise building, man, I was like always leaving my door open.
Yeah.
Can I get my food deliveries up? Like, good luck trying to rob the place. Like,
Yeah. I mean, that's what you get by living in an apartment building is security. But once you're in a single family home, townhouse, condo, something on first floor level access, I think it's important. I think it's very important. Now, we're not talking about living in Iowa. We're talking about living in San Diego. We're talking about living in a major city.
But
So that's who this
Iowa
is
might
for.
be similar, right? Like, I don't know, maybe the town is more spread out. Like police is not like, 5 blocks away. It's like,
Yeah, so you have more of a need to like
30-minute
protect
drive
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went through my house, taking a little inventory. I realized I did have like a kind of like a knife situation in my bedroom, like drawer or whatever.
Okay, so I also remember since your college days, you would keep some golf clubs in the back, even if you weren't golfing.
A baseball bat, for if I don't know, I run into a child who wants to play t-ball. I don't know. I don't know. Like in Sacramento is a little different. So, so moving here, I just like carried the habit, and it was just always in there. I never pulled it out. Luckily, thank God.
But the idea is that it's nice to have. Just in
Also,
case.
there's like a factor of like there's a little more to lose now. Like where
That's true.
If you
Okay.
got in an altercation and maybe you misjudged the situation a little bit, and maybe you got heated and you were the one who overreacted, not the other person. Like, I don't know. There's just too much to lose.
Okay, so hold on.
Big time.
It might be too early in the convo to even bring this up, but like one of my thoughts about this is like if I don't have that stuff and I don't bring it out, then it won't get there. Like maybe it's like I manifest the danger by preparing for it.
Like you pull out a knife and the guy's like, "Oh, you're gonna pull out a knife?" Like,
I think
Yeah,
that's
kind of.
insanely true. If you know you have a weapon, the likelihood of you using it is much, much higher. That's what leads to a lot of the catastrophes. But at the same time, if you have the ability to hold back and you are good at de-escalating, what you need the weapon for is for the times where de-escalation isn't working. And if you're getting attacked and you don't have that weapon, that's when you really wish you had it.
yeah,
Because that would de-escalate the situation immediately. And it would just ensure that you keep your life,
Yeah.
which is often something that can be a real factor. And so it's a catch-22. If you have it, the likelihood that it gets utilized is higher. If you don't have it, your personal risk or your family's risk or people around you risk is also higher. It's a really tough one.
Yeah, I mean,
I've discussed it with experts, and they all err on the side of caution of like, I value this weapon enough and understand its strength and power and what's possible that if I'm getting to the point where I have to pull out my gun or a baseball bat, that means that I've decided it's already too late.
yeah.
Something's going down. So they're waiting until that last point. They're not like proactively pulling out the gun. You know what I mean?
my father-in-law, I forget the exact term, but he worked at prisons and he would transport prisoners, usually from federal prisons that are people who are murderers, rapists, like the worst kind. And obviously he has his license to carry a gun. He has guns. He had to keep up his like shooting, and we were talking about it over drinks one day, and he's like, what do you think about owning a gun? I was like, yeah, if we moved into a house, I'll likely own a gun. And he was like, do you understand like what that means? Like you can only pull it out if you or, your fiance are in threat of your life. But then I've also taken many concealed carry licenses. There's a bunch of Navy SEALs in San Diego. So they put on these like kind of fun, but also very informative trainings. They're full day trainings where half the day you're just working on how to handle the gun, how to carry it, how to pull it out, and you're doing repetition, like hundreds of repetitions. And then in the afternoon, they do these scenarios where they do it at a movie set. So there's a movie set for a home, and they hand you the gun box, and they say, okay, go set up your gun where you would set it up in your house. And so you find the bedroom, set it up, and they have people, start. They have players in there, and you have these sim rounds that are kind of like paintballs. They're real guns, but with sim rounds in there. And they'll start holding the door, and all of a sudden they're banging on the door, and then all of a sudden they're breaking in the door, and they run two different scenarios on you. So one, like for example, when someone starts breaking into your house, you have to say, I have a gun, I will shoot you if you come in. You have to like verbally state it. And so in the scenario I was like in the bedroom waiting for the guy to come to the bedroom, and he comes in and he goes, surprise, and I just light him up, right? He has no weapon on him, hands are up, and I just lit him up, and they're in the rafters watching you, like it's like a training.
It's your brother-in-law in this scenario.
Yeah,
It's just like
so,
somebody trying to be like, happy birthday.
and so he comes down, he goes, congratulations, you're going to jail for the rest of your life. And I
That's
was
the
like,
scary part.
oh fuck.
God, dude, I'm not prepared for that level of responsibility.
But then the other side was, he goes, okay, you see that black Ranger over here? That's your car. Here's the keys. Just go get in the car. And you're like, okay. And it's like a big garage. And you know something's going to happen. And they have an actor playing a homeless person in this corner over there. And you're just like walking your car, not sure what's going to happen. And there was a guy on the phone near the car. And and he's like screaming. And he's like hitting the car because he's mad on the phone. And I walk up to the car and he pulls a knife. And he starts walking towards me. And I didn't shoot him until however far we are apart, like 4 feet. And he was like, dude, you need to shoot him way sooner.
Yeah, shoot that guy immediately.
And apparently he was like 21 feet. You know, if that guy pulls a knife, you can keep shooting him and he can still get to you and kill you. So like, so there was like this like a range that I wasn't aware of, like scenarios where it could go very bad for you.
Yeah.
And then scenarios where like, no, you need to be way more like
Damn, and you failed
ready.
both.
Yeah, I failed both. Yeah. So it is a lot.
Do you think there's like a more of an entry level for somebody like me who has nothing, like, because gun ownership is pretty high stakes.
Yeah.
Like, what's like a more entry level? I was thinking like maybe a bat. Have a bat.
Yeah, for sure.
Baseball bat. How about
Nice.
how about a
baseball
knife?
bat.
Big knife.
I think knives are just as risky, if not riskier, if you don't know how to use them. Like,
obviously
if
if
you're
they
coming
take it
up
off
against somebody, yeah. If you're getting into a scuffle and there's a knife, someone's going to get stabbed. So, yeah, I think like knife training is its own thing, right? Like it's its own self-defense tool, and there's mistakes that a person can make about how and when they use it. It's not just as simple as like holding out a knife and being like, I'm gonna stab you. It's hardcore. It's real shit. So I think the first thing is like peeling from the outer layers in. So it's like you don't even want to have to deal with confronting somebody. So if you have a single family home, I think the most important thing is like an alarm system, recording, having a ring, having security cameras, so that if anything does go down, you at least have the footage. Having the ability to have that evidence is really important. But yeah, alarm systems on your windows. You can go through what is it, Brinks or whatever.
Yeah, Brinks.
There's so many different companies.
Reinforced
right? You can go
doors.
through your internet provider, like your cable company. Like there's so many that have that. Unfortunately, I don't have that because I rent. But I was thinking about it recently. I'm like, well, maybe you just get it and you move with it.
Yeah.
And it's important to set up. But having your windows covered, your door covered, if there's movement, especially when you're sleeping at night or when you're away from the house,
having
to know
lights.
something is going down. Yeah. Lights that motion sensor lights. And then once you have the home itself secure, good locks, good everything, good whatever. In terms of like the combat stuff, by the way, I know nothing about this stuff. I'm just talking about like what I have thought of so far. There's a lot of things. Like I think mace, pepper spray.
Pepper
is
spray.
Like
That's a lower stakes.
lower stakes.
Yeah, crackheads walk straight through pepper spray.
Women can use it as well without that kind of like higher likelihood of possibility of it being turned onto them like a knife or gun. So pepper spray is good. There's like a gel pepper spray that's really effective that you can shoot like 12 feet or something. And then there's alarms, like pulling an alarm, a personal alarm that can make a ton of noise. We're talking about like over 132 decibels. Oh, wow.
Whoa.
Man's done his research.
I've seen that product being sold.
Ah, okay.
Are you guys?
So, yeah,
are
I mean,
you
that
selling
is
that?
really loud.
No comment.
And, you get that combined with some yelling and screaming, and it's very disorienting to the person. So, like, first thing, boom, pull the alarm. And then next, I think a baseball bat is extremely effective. I mean, dude, try tapping one against your own leg. Like, imagine actually swinging with, like,
Full
60% of your energy even. Like, you're going to break some bones or you're going to, knock somebody out. It's hardcore. And then personally for me, I have a gun. I own a pistol. I own a Glock, and I have a nightstand quick release fingerprint safe. So it works with a code or a fingerprint, and
it opens up ready to go. Like you just grab it,
just pops out.
leave it loaded.
Yeah, and I think like worst comes to worst, that's the fast most
So
effective
in a
worst case scenario.
condo building, you can't probably use a handgun because if it goes through the walls and kills your neighbors, that's probably not good. But like maybe a home defense shotgun, those like shorter shotguns, I think would be a nice to have.
Yeah, I think like a shotgun or rifle is the way to go. Like if you can for home defense.
Well, rifle's gonna go through like many walls.
But I think shotgun, like it's harder to miss. You know?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, sprays.
Yeah.
sprays.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think like the easy kit is the bat for sure. Ideally a handgun, but maybe a shotgun as well. Maybe the handgun in the bedroom because it's easier to store, and then like a shotgun somewhere else in the house.
Right. Thought about the same.
Hmm.
Yeah, I thought about the same with the shotgun, but I'm like, where would I put it that you could get to it in time?
Right, because I think that's the issue for me is with any gun. It's like, well, it has to be accessible, and when you're in the moment of fight or flight, are you really going to be like getting that thing?
No. Like I used to have like a regular, handgun storage safe with a key. And I was like, there's no way this is not useful.
Yeah.
This is like for long-term storage. But if we're talking about for the purpose that the gun is mainly owned, which is for self-defense, that kind of thing, in the home, then you got to have a quick release sort of code or fingerprint safe.
When's the last time you guys shot guns? It's been a while for me.
Been a while. Been a while for
I
me.
think I shot one in Vegas.
Oh,
Got
yeah.
one of those.
Yeah, you can go shoot automatic like Uzis and
Yeah,
like
shot like a 50 caliber.
50 cal. Yeah, I've done those.
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear what the chat says.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
chat-
feel like we're way out of our element with this,
we
and
are.
the rest of our community is extremely knowledgeable.
All right.
compared
Well,
to
we
us.
have such expert suggestions as BB gun, house with a moat, obviously with alligators.
Yeah, drawbridge.
Pocket sand. I don't know if that's to just pull the sand out and like blind them in the eyes.
Confetti.
Is the BB gun just to scare somebody?
No, I think that one's a
Or
joke,
is that a
probably.
joke. Okay.
Marty says my prepper buddies have crossbows.
Ooh.
That's pretty. That's
Ooh,
pretty
That's
intense.
medieval.
I like that.
Maddie
like,
says
load it?
I like that.
bear spray, AR 500 plate carrier.
Okay, so bear spray I was thinking about because
Wait, I'm taking bear spray to Colorado next. Can
So,
you use that
yeah.
on a person? Is it even more effective?
so I carry it when I'm hiking in Wyoming, and if I can take down a bear, I can take down a person. Or I can-
Right.
So I like the bear spray one. I was
like-
thinking about that.
I like bear
It
spray.
goes out to like 12 feet or so.
Oh, I like that.
Let's see. Lemon G says Glock 19. Maddie says shotgun is very effective. Slugs and buckshot. A Franco says that's actually on the written test. Which direction you shoot if you're in an apartment. That's interesting. Be hard to think about when you're
Right.
in the midst.
I don't mean to sound cold, but like if someone is invading your house and you're worried about like collateral damage, I'm
Like
shooting.
How can you
I'm
how can you even
shooting.
like rationalize all this stuff that's happening?
Like bullets going through walls. I'm like,
But that's a problem. I mean, it's clearly a
well,
problem.
you want hollow points. That's one thing I know. So that they don't, if you do hit
Something.
Expands the
If
cavity.
you do hit the perp, then at least they stay in the body and they don't go through. So no one else gets hurt that
Okay,
way. But you
someone's
got
an
to hit the perp.
Tom Nom Nom says, got to give him that Hawk 22. I mean, as far as calibers go, like, why even have a gun if you're going to have a home defense gun if you're going to have a 22? Like, you need a larger caliber, I think.
I think people, I don't know. Like, I think if you're getting hit.
Like how many 22 bullets can you take?
Well, I mean, okay, yes, right now, probably not a lot, but like someone who's like clearly drugged out, hyped up, like ready, they can close distance fast.
You think if you hit somebody 2-3 times with a 9mm bullet in the right spot, they're not going to.
9mm, yeah. 45 would probably be better.
22 is, yeah.
Okay.
What about the Home Alone situation? I was thinking there would be like, we'd already have like a surveillance drones that just hover over your home and are like just kind of following motion, putting lights on something. I'm kind of
Oh, that's
disappointed in like,
That'll be part of like a home security that you pay for. You pay for this drone that just monitors.
Yeah, and just like flies over, zooms in on people.
Yeah, why
maybe
is
shines
that-
lights on them.
Why is that not a thing? Like, people can afford this.
Yeah, that should be a thing. All right. I don't think the chat has anything else to say. Love you guys' contributions. Oh, I guess there were things I was worried about in California. I looked this up. Can you, if someone enters your home, can you shoot them?
Do you have like free license?
I know in Florida you can light them up.
it's like a stand your ground.
Yeah, but in California, something known as the Castle Doctrine allows residents to use force, including deadly force, to defend themselves against an intruder. The law presumes that an intruder who unlawfully and forcibly enters a residence poses a threat of death or great bodily harm. But there's also this like reasonable belief in imminent threat thing and the idea of proportionality. So like, I don't know, it seems blurry to me. It doesn't seem like...
Yeah, I don't know where I'd heard this. I don't know if it's right, but I heard like if that guy like turns his back and like starts exiting, then you can't.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a California thing.
Yeah.
Like, if they turn their back, it's not an imminent threat anymore. Okay. Cool. Let's see.
Kind of a dark topic, but
Yeah, I know.
but it was like very useful for me. I really have some actionable things that I need to get on top
Yeah,
of.
you need to step your game up, brother.
But then I wonder, then do I like just via the way the universe works, and am I now like
Attracting?
inviting violence?
I don't know. I do have a lot of buddies who are very gun oriented. Their house is like locked down, and always makes me feel a little insecure.
When you're there,
Like, yeah, just like maybe I should know more about this. I mean, I feel like all the concealed training and Navy SEAL training is enough, but like,
and just for my own feeling of safety, those guys that you're talking about have never had to like use their weapons.
not as a civilian.
Right.
The buddies? No.
Yeah.
No, I've never
They
actually
don't.
heard of
They
them.
don't like invite
But it's
violence.
funny, they also take it very seriously. Like the safety, they're more serious than like what you see on the news.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's transition. It's kind of a bearish topic, and we have a bearish next topic. So Armand, can you pull up this tweet? It's an Eric Balchunas tweet. Okay, let's show this up on the screen. So
Eric Bachman?
this is Eric
Earl
Balchunas.
Bachman?
We know
Ehrlich?
he's a ETF expert at Bloomberg. We know him for the Bitcoin and ETH ETFs. But he mentioned launching today Yield Max Short Coin Option Income Strategy ETF, ticker symbol fiat. So it's basically shorting coin and also going long puts and short calls to collect some income. So this is our nemesis, just like embodied in one ETF. And I don't know, I just want to see what you guys' thoughts on it. And I want to see what your guys' thoughts on these in general. I've been seeing a lot of these pop up, these like single stock
Yeah.
ETFs. This is right up your alley.
No,
right?
I love that you brought this topic up. So I'm seeing a ton of these. Like, I think this is all part of a subcategory called structured
Why
products.
do we have a black screen? Oh, it's back. Sorry.
Okay.
We
So,
had-
like-
we had a black screen
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
of death.
Okay, so within Stockland, there's been like a big push towards structured products. These are like things that are ways to basically like generate yield
Okay.
on securities that traditionally don't. So these yield max ETFs are like traditionally long. Like this particular one you're talking about is short,
Okay.
but they're like traditionally long, and it's like there's like a Apple one, and Nvidia one,
Tesla, I'm sure.
Tesla, yeah. And what they do is they just like use options to generate yield, like in the same manner that I do, or similar manner that I
Like
do.
you do these more advanced programs for clients who maybe say like, hey, I got 1,000 shares of Apple. Like, what can I do with it? And
Yeah.
you're kind of trying to earn them income on it.
Yeah, and like without looking at this like coin one in particular, I think like I can talk about the asset category at large. The reason why they're popular is like I think it's valid. It's like the same reason why our Discord now is like interested in selling options and stuff, because it is a cool way to invest. I particularly don't like what they're doing at the yield max with the yield max ETFs.
I mean, how is that any different from what you're doing with like clients in your own stuff?
So good question. What they do, like in this particular ETF and all of them, like they're giving you exposure to the movements, but they don't hold any of the underlying. So the way they do it, like, let's ignore this coin one, because like most of like 95% of them are long with yield.
Okay.
So what they do is they sell the put out of the money to generate yield. They sell the call, and then they buy a call as well, so that
So they have protection. It's not naked.
right. And then with like the money that they take, they just buy treasuries. So they don't actually have any exposure to the stock. You know, they have exposure to the derivatives.
Huh.
And I don't like that. I mean, you guys basically know my strategy at this point. It's like if I like something, I want to own the common, and I want to sell like 2 standard deviations out of the money at any given time horizon. That way, it's like I'm participating in the stock primarily, and then the option trade is like little icing on the cake.
But you called this previously, I think like 2 or 3 episodes ago, you called it like a poor man's covered call, where you own the long call option, and then you're also selling the call option. So isn't it just more capital efficient?
It definitely is more capital efficient. That's a good question. I think like where these things fail is that they so they're long, like a long version is long a call, but then caps their upside on the call. Like, so like imagine Nvidia is trading at 130 right now.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably where it's at. They'll like own a 135 call and they'll sell a 137 call. So like if Nvidia really goes, then you like don't participate in that.
Oh, I see.
And an example of that recently, Tesla. I don't know if you guys have been following Tesla stock, Armand. I'm guessing you have, because I think you have some Tesla. But like Tesla stock is up 50% over the last like 2 weeks or something. But the TSLY, the yielding version of Tesla, the Yield Max Tesla, where it like sells options, is only up 17% in that same period, because they like sell the options against it. And like the way that I do it, the reason why I prefer the way that I do it is because like I can participate for like in way greater upside. I'm like going way further out.
Right. So they're kind of within a 1 standard deviation.
Even
potentially.
tighter. Like
even tighter.
Yeah, like 10 to 15% upside. They're getting rid of everything
man.
on top of that.
So that's one good buyer beware. I didn't understand.
And there's another one. There's another scenario in which these lose. So that's like when the stock actually goes down. So another one that Yield Max offers is like a PayPal. It's like PYPY instead of PYPL. So it's like a yielding version of PayPal. And on this one, you're short the put naked. So like if the stock goes down, you're gonna like eat it a little harder.
Right.
So like PayPal is down. I think PayPal's down like 12% over the last month or so, and the yielding version is down more than that. And like, you're taking these trade-offs for like a 4% annualized yield. I just don't I think like it's not something that I would do, but I do understand the appeal of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not even, maybe picking which strike price and which expiration is a little complicated, and I'm sure people in the Discord can like chat about that, because there's a lot of people in there who have been doing this. But it doesn't seem that complicated to actually employ, like, whether you do these weekly or every 2 weeks or every month. Like, I know a lot of buddies who do this in their 401ks and IRAs. They get it approved to sell, covered calls, and they're just like using it to acquire more stock, right? So let's say they're long Tesla, they take the premiums, they buy more, and he's like, annualized over 5 years, over 10 years, over the course of my retirement, like this juices it. And he's like, it's not that hard to do. Like, I just got to log in once a week or once every 2 weeks. I'm not always perfect, but like, and if I have to sell the stock, that's fine. I take the cash, I just rebuy immediately, and
It's exactly right. I think like for our folks, right, who own shares, in Tesla or in Nvidia or Coin, like you'd want to sell the covered calls, and it's like a better solution than entering one of these structured products.
A few more questions. Like right now, the VIX is pretty low. I think it's like 12 something. So, when it's that low, obviously options price in a lot of volatility. That's when you kind of get these juicy moves. So when the volatility is really low, is it even worth doing this, or you just kind of take a month off, take a week off, and be like, it's not worth the squeeze?
Pretty advanced question, sir. I've been taking a little time off of selling options because like a couple reasons. One, it's like summertime. I want to be out in the sun. I got a freaking headband tan line from like playing tennis too much.
Do you wear a headband every time?
Oh yeah, I'm like a
okay.
Rafa Nadal out there.
Okay.
But like, yeah, I think like right now is like
Twinkly
not.
toes.
It's not a great time to be selling options. But what I think you can do is like maybe look at the inversion of that. Like it's a good time to be buying options. And one thing you can do, one thing I'm like looking at doing, I haven't really done it yet, is like selling the short dated volatility and buying longer dated vol. So like,
sorry, translate that for me.
so
what do you mean?
like right now you said volatility is low, but like volatility exists on a curve, kind of like a yield curve. So like longer dated volatility can move up and down in larger swings too.
So does that mean the expiration is just further out, like a couple months out?
So
or?
like I'm like thinking about now is like selling weeklies or 2 weeklies, monthlies, and then buying like a 2026 call.
I see.
So like using the proceeds of the sales to fund buying options with the VIX so low.
And obviously on a stock that you're already bullish on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. The other one was another buyer beware I was thinking of was this is one version of these single stock ETFs, but what I see that's more common is these like leveraged ETFs. I think maybe we've talked about this, like 3x Apple, 3x Tesla.
Yeah.
They have them long, short, 1.5x.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as I know, like it doesn't necessarily track 3x, and you can get really effed on these. You want to just explain roughly, like basically how that happens?
Yeah. So those are trading vehicles, not investment vehicles. Like that's the simplest TLDR there is. Like in a very short term time horizon, like in a matter of a few days, it will like 3x the moves, but over a long period of time, they dramatically lag the common stock.
Right.
And it's just based on the way math works. Like
Yeah, the volatility, it goes down, and when you go back up, it doesn't go back up as much.
Right. Like you can like do this on your calculator at home. Like start with a $100 stock, increase that stock by 1%. It goes to 101. Now decrease that stock by 1%. It goes down to, like it goes below 99. And then you increase it by 1%. It's below 100. So like if a stock is like ranging sideways, these 3x levereds are always going to lose money. It's like it's designed that way.
Got it. Okay, cool. I thought that was an interesting one. Can we short the short coin ETF?
Well, they do have a long version as well that yields, but like I don't like capping my coin upside to like 10% out to August, which is like what they're doing on the long version. So if anybody's interested in generating yield on their common stock positions, just join us in the Discord in the options channel, because people are doing that already.
Okay, let's get to one of our main topics. I want to shout out the author of this first, because like I think he gets credit for it. So there's this author called Fallacy Alarm that I follow. He's got a Substack. I subscribe to it. It's relatively affordable. I think it's like $120 a year. And so he's the author of this article. I recommend checking him out. You can check out some of the articles for free and peruse it. But I found him maybe like 9 months ago and just started reading his stuff, realized his old stuff was pretty prescient. And he had an article that I found interesting and I shared with you guys. And the title is How to Create the 2025 to 2027 Stock Market Bubble in 4 Simple Steps. So I'm going to read the 4 steps first, and then we can kind of like go into these a little bit.
Okay, Armand's got it pulled up too, so should I have it over there?
I think you have to have the paid action, so you don't have to. I have some charts pulled up that we'll go through.
I think our screen share isn't working, by the way.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like try sharing. I think it goes to a black screen of death.
Oh yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Maybe tighten up all those like connections there,
Yeah, it's going black screen.
including in the dongle.
Share.
Okay. Well, Armand troubleshoots that. Let's get
It's all
into
plugged in.
some of these
Should I
steps.
reset anything?
Can't really reset it while we're live.
Yeah, we'll just run with it.
Okay. So step 1, manipulate rates to zero to allow people to lock in cheap debt for decades and make them immune to rate hikes. So we'll talk about that in a second. Step 2, run monstrous primary deficits to flood people with savings. Step 3, manipulate rates back up to fuel people's savings even more via interest rate payments. And then step 4, normalize rates back down to encourage people to borrow against their huge savings from step 2 and 3, to consume a lot of junk and buy assets with leverage. Okay, so let's go back to step number 1, where he talks about manipulating rates to zero to allow people to lock in cheap debt for decades and make them immune to rate hikes. So obviously we lived through most of this era, like post 2008, ZIRP areas, zero interest rate policy, QE.
How long was it like that?
I don't know. It sounds like 10, at least 10, 12 years.
It was so long.
So
It was like our adult life.
Yeah. Well, ever since the financial crisis, kind of we got through that, then it was
That's
really,
basically my entire adult life.
yeah.
so pull up one of these charts. I don't know if the screen share is going to work, but
I
let's
don't
just.
think it does, dude.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I will dictate the chart. So one of the charts that he shows
I'll do
to,
it so we can look at it.
to
but-
prove his point is the percent of adjustable loans. And I think most people kind of know this inherently just through conversations with friends and family. But you look at pre 2008, 35% of the mortgages were adjustable rate loans.
Yeah.
And if you look at it now, it's sub 5%. So the point is, people learned their lesson, and then when interest rates were very low, they locked in, fixed rate mortgages. Not a big surprise there. You could also see that in 2021, 2022, more 2021, I guess, the amount of new mortgages and refinances hit all-time highs. The amount of mortgages created at those lower interest rates was similar to pre-2008. And then there's another chart that shows the difference between the current mortgage rate and what the effective rate is. And we talked about this, but I think current mortgage rates are around the 7% range.
Yep.
But if you look at effective mortgage rates, it's sub 4%, so 3.5%. So that's what...
Meaning that's why people are actually paying.
Yeah. Even though we've, the actual going rate is double that. Okay, so we have step 1 down, right? We have low interest rates.
And people locked in very long-term debt. Companies did the same thing. You see corporations like Apple, they were borrowing at sub 3%,
Apple
billions
has
of dollars.
so much cash, but they're still issuing bonds,
Yeah.
Because they know it's cheap debt. So everyone locked that in. And so now we have a corporate base and a consumer base that is kind of immune to interest rate hikes. Okay, step 2, run monstrous primary deficits to flood people with savings. Again, I think we kind of know this one inherently, whether it was stimuluses that some of us received, whether it was all the loan packages, the CHIPS Act, the Infrastructure Act,
It was so much money.
Inflation Reduction Act,
Yeah.
and that seriously boosted people's savings, both companies and
Right.
individuals.
And I think this was a great article, but on that point, I think this guy did a great job of just demonstrating that money has to go somewhere, right? Even if it goes to foreign individuals or foreign companies or whatever, that money goes somewhere. And I think his point is that ultimately it probably comes back into American asset markets.
There was a great quote. So he said in Q4 of 2019, this is fallacy alarm again, U.S. GDP was running at an annual rate of 22 trillion. Okay, so that was our annual GDP was 22 trillion. 52 months have passed since then, and during those 52 months of madness, the Treasury ran a cumulative deficit of 9.5 trillion, so round up to 10, and you're talking about almost half of annual GDP as a deficit.
As a deficit.
Which means that the government is spending money they don't have, but they're spending obviously most likely to whether that's military and it goes in the homes of military personnel or military companies, that money gets put into our economy. So he just brings up that point to talk about how much money flooded from federal deficits. Okay, step 3. Manipulate rates back up to fuel people's savings even more via interest payments. And this is something Stevens talked about.
Yes.
He mentioned that as interest rates are higher, it actually fuels more liquidity because we have all those savings, people's personal savings rate, the highest they've ever been. And now they're just earning 5.5%
Right.
on
This is where we are now.
Right.
So yeah, Stephen was early to this. He's just saying that high interest rates are stimulative. Like when you have like a really high savings rate, everyone's got a bunch of cash, and you can like pay 5.5% on cash. That just gives everybody more money. It's like airdrops for people.
Right. And obviously there might be like a bifurcation, in the income scale or the wealth scale. Like obviously people with loads of cash are the ones that are really earning like a large amount, where, maybe people in the lower brackets aren't really a beneficiary of this, but maybe that money, trickles through the economy, whatever you want to call it. But the point is that, there's a large amount of income that's adding to those savings rates. Okay. Step 4. This is where we might be coming and might set up this 2025 to 2027 massive bubble. Normalize rates back down to encourage people to borrow against their savings, their huge savings from step 2 and 3, to consume a lot of junk and to buy assets. So he basically says that, the basic reason, or one of the things that enables people to borrow, is that they have a lot of collateral, right? So whether that's companies or individuals, when they have savings, when they have assets, whether that's, in the version of a home, cash in the bank account, they have things to borrow against. And the basically saying that the tinder is set for like, once you lower interest rates, the interest rate goes down. You're like, okay, now I can leverage up.
So step 4 is just the easing of interest rates.
Yeah. And he provides this one example. I don't know Japanese economics in the 1980s, but I wish we could show this chart because it like explains it beautifully. But basically, he mentions in 1985, there was these Plaza Accords where it made the dollar, it devalued the dollar against the yen. And so, the Japanese found themselves pretty rich in dollar terms. And they got a little nervous that their exports were going to be too expensive for the world because the yen is more expensive.
And that was a time, I think, when they were like exporting a ton of technology.
Yeah, that was like key moment. The economy was already doing well, but they were nervous. So they took interest rates from 5 to 2.5%. And some people might argue that's kind of what we're expecting here, is that it might take a couple years, but maybe we go from 5 and some change to like around the 2.5-3% range. And then he says this cheap credit then fueled real estate and stock market speculation from January 1986, around when they started decreasing interest rates, to December 1989. So we're talking like a full 2-year period, maybe 3-year period. The Nikkei more than tripled. So the Nikkei went from like 15,000 range, looks like more like 12,000 to like 40,000. And it looks like just this straight shot up.
Yeah, I wish we could show this chart because it looks kind of like what the dot-com bubble looked like in our stock market.
Right. Very much like dot-com bubble. And unfortunately, it resembles the Burj Khalifa and, goes up on one side. And then, it shows like a 2-decade version of stagflation. After it wasn't such a nice
and the Nikkei has since rebounded to all-time highs, but it did take
what is that, 30 something years, 40 years,
crazy.
We actually just passed those like mid 80s highs.
Crazy.
Wow.
So I guess what this guy's saying in conclusion is that we're running this same playbook from Japan.
And he says that's what maybe the Fed, they're obviously worried about inflation, but they might worry that they might light up this tinderbox.
And they probably want to try to avoid what happened in the Nikkei in the late 80s or early 90s.
Because
like that big of a
right.
And he mentions, like, if you look at the U.S. economy, look at the S&P 500, it's more of this parabola shaped. Like, yes, we do have these spikes up and down, but if you look at a longer time horizon, it's like this kind of like arcing up chart. And it shows like maybe what resembles like a steady GDP climb over time, right? That compounds. Where theirs, it was like up, straight down, and didn't revive for 30 plus years, which is a little scary.
So I got a couple questions for you. First of all, I know step 1, 2, and 3 like are already checkboxed, right? Yeah. Like that's already happened.
Yes.
Okay.
We're on the verge.
And step 4 is like reducing rates. Which
is already the plan.
I think we know that's going to happen. We just don't know the velocity at which we do that. Yeah. Like, do you personally believe that we are going to see a late 2020s asset bubble?
I mean, one of the reasons I like this article, because it was almost counter to what I've been hearing recently is like, well, things are slowing down, and like if they don't lower interest rates soon enough, we could be on a verge of like a slowdown, maybe a slight recession. But no one is really like talking about further than that. They're talking about, okay, next 6 months, maybe even like next year, and earnings slow down and things kind of like quiet down. But this seemed, I don't know, a little out of the wings of like what's part of the conversation. So, I mean, his argument sounds sound to me.
Yeah, it's coherent. I like it.
Yeah.
I've always kind of thought that's what was going to happen. My take is like a couple things. One, like the simplest one is that like the Fed is not going to just drop interest rates back to zero, right? They're going to slowly taper them over a much longer period of time than like crypto Twitter is imagining, because crypto Twitter is like, just wait until they cut and like it's all fucking game back on. Maybe it will be. Maybe it will be all game back on. But like we're not gonna go from like 5.5% down to 0% again.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like from this chart, it took about like 1.5 to 2 years for Japan to go from 5 to 2.5. Maybe that's not out of the realm of possibility, but also a lot can happen in that time. And we know that like the Fed isn't necessarily great at these like gradual things. We know them, at least in our lifetime, as like, oh shit, something happened, spike them up or drop them down hard.
Right.
Kind of like overreaction.
I thought a really interesting point he made towards the end was like, the longer the Fed waits to cut, the worse it becomes. Kind of like a coiled spring, because like we're getting more and more savings, like more and more private savings as rates are high. People are just like capturing more and more dollars that they can ultimately deploy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's like two assumptions he made that like make me feel like I need to understand this a little better. Is like, one, the correlation between 2024 USA and 1985 Japan economies. Like there are maybe some similarities, but there's probably a lot of dissimilarities that warrant a little closer look at it. And what was the other one? Yeah, I lost my train of thought on what the other one was.
No worries. But I think like the main thing that I come to then is like, I think we agree that like asset prices will go higher, maybe like much higher, but like maybe not much higher, but maybe.
Roaring 20s.
Yeah, maybe roaring 20s. And then, it just always comes back to like, what do you want to own? And like, it's been kind of illuminating in a weird way over the last 3 months, maybe, to see stock markets all-time highs and Bitcoin, ETH languishing.
Right.
This is kind of like the decoupling that everyone was talking about, but in the wrong direction. Yeah.
The wrong direction. I think like our optimistic hope is that like we see a snapback, right?
Yeah.
Like we have a catch up. But the other assumption that he was making that I'll just mention, since I remembered it, was like he doesn't mention unemployment rising. Like he doesn't seem phased at all by this. I doubt he would ignore that as a factor, but he doesn't seem phased by it. And so that's the other assumption I think you're making, is that like we don't have massive,
like a massive, like their dual mandate, which is inflation and growth. You wouldn't want to see unemployment rising so much that growth is inhibited. But your point is that it wouldn't dissuade them from.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to
their
see. We could see it go to like 6 or 7%. Like that's hard to believe, but black swans in anything.
Well, true, and also like I think on an absolute level, that's still pretty reasonable. Like if you go back 50 plus years, like we're at like all-time best employment numbers now. So to see some mean reversion, like some people lose jobs, I think they're probably like looking forward to that, to be honest.
Yeah, but not worth a freak out, right?
Yeah, not worth a freak out.
Okay, cool.
Armand, what do you want to own?
I am unriveted.
What do you want to own?
Nvidia.
Okay, so no, hold on.
I was going to add on more, but
No,
Nvidia
Nvidia's
it's
incredible.
like based on the data we have, it's hard to beat.
No, it's incredible.
I don't know.
Like
I
we've
feel
like poo-pooed Nvidia.
We still have years ahead of us.
Like we talked about crypto for like 18 months, and it was cool. That was good. Crypto did well over those 18 months, but like we missed like talking about what really fucking worked.
Sure.
It was
definitely.
Nvidia.
Right.
Yeah, it was the winner.
Right.
Or apparently
Coinbase
Abercrombie and
did
Fitch.
great. I mean, we caught that. Like that was good. At
That was
least
a good
we
one.
talked about Coinbase.
Yeah.
Things like Tesla, like you mentioned, doing great now.
Doing great
Numbers are looking great.
now. Right.
Like over delivering, overperforming.
Right, and like
I
when,
don't know.
like when, you know, like my background is different than our missing fourth members.
Yeah.
Right. So like, part of me is just thinking about crypto as just like a, you moron, me, like me, you dumb moron.
Yeah, like,
Like-
what you know would have served you best.
Yeah, like why wouldn't you just invest in the best companies on earth? Like why am I
Yeah.
investing in this like speculative thing that doesn't have any cash flows or whatever? I'm just like expecting it to do well.
But because for those moments when it does have that reflexivity up and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot
Yeah.
how kind of face ripping rallies you could see. And like, you know, will ETH or the NASDAQ double, have a greater probability of doubling, you know, in the next 12 months?
It has to be ETH.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there's obviously some downside, but like
Yeah.
still. So, I mean, that's,
Does it
that,
have to
that's
be?
what,
So far, indications have showed you that's not necessarily the
Yeah,
case.
yeah. I mean, doubling is just a high bar to pass, but like,
But it's the decoupling that you mentioned. Like, it decoupled in the wrong direction.
yeah, right. Like
So
for ETH buyers at,
why do we have to assume that ETH outperforms the NASDAQ?
yeah, I'm not gonna make that assumption. I'm just gonna say doubles. To double, it's a higher probability for ETH. But like, you're right.
Yeah.
You know, like I bought like another bucket of ETH at like 3,500. Why did I buy that? Like I could have bought anything else. I could have bought any stock. So
Yeah. I mean, I think this month will be telling, right, with the ETF and the inflows that we're supposed to see, and we're gonna sit back and see what the reaction is, and how price reacts, right?
you know, you would think, like, the more I dig into like price action, I'm always like trying to learn more about this stuff. But like the more I learn about this, it's like it's never like the first order effects that you're thinking are gonna like move the price. It's always like these weird, interesting like background dynamics that
Yeah.
you don't even see.
Yeah.
You know, like
I mean, I feel like you just defined what speculation means.
yeah,
you
yeah,
know?
maybe that's
It's
it.
like,
But like,
that's pure speculation.
but like even in the stock market, for instance, right? So Chem was on a podcast 3 days ago, and it was like an hour long. It was an hour long Chemathon, and I loved it. And you know what he's describing? It's like why stocks move the way that they do is like not how I was trained. I was trained in thinking about the long term. Like stocks move because their earnings push the stock price higher based on fundamentals. And what he's describing is like, well, when you have like all these like dealer flows and like market makers that are positioned in a certain way, it's pinning the S&P 500. It's so like, let me just like make it way simpler. Chicken or the egg? Do the constituents of the index make the index price go higher, or is the index price that moves the constituents?
oh shit.
And that's what he was talking about. So it's like he's saying that the driver is the index, and because people are like trading options on the index, so it pins the index. But then you have like individual stocks moving up or higher or lower. But when the index is pinned, that means that like if one stock, like if Nvidia goes higher, then like the rest of the index has to go lower to offset
Right.
to keep the index pinned. That's like goes counter to like what I was taught.
Right. More flows than fundamentals.
Yeah, at least in the short term.
Well, I think back to, you know, why is crypto maybe lagging the stock market? I got to get a little Steven's voice in here because I'm sure he's like high pitched voice screaming at the podcast right now. So he
Germany.
Yeah. You know, he mentioned in the Discord that Mount Gox is selling. The Germans are market dumping on the holidays. There was like a DAO, I think Gollum, or I guess it was more of an entity, liquidating entire 800 million worth of ETH of their treasury.
Good God.
Hard to envision a downside surprise from here. So like, despite all this like low liquidity, like low volume time and all these downsell pressures, like behaving pretty well. Sounds still very bullish.
I agree, and now probably is like the best time to be like deploying into these like downtrodden assets. Like this is the time.
Every day.
You got a daily DCA?
Dollop. Every day.
A daily dollop?
Yeah, daily dollop. Now I feel like now is a good time. I mean, like when it's below the 200-week moving average, always a great time. But I don't know, just stepping up the aggressiveness.
Armand, how do you feel about that one? A daily dollop?
Does that keep the doctor away? Does it make retirement happen sooner?
Keeps my insanity away.
I don't know.
I don't mind it. I think it's too late for me. We're in the middle of the bull run. Hard to tell if we're in the third inning or the sixth for me. I formerly believed we were like in the third or fourth. I think some people are expressing doubts.
We are in that moment where doubts are probably
There's
common.
doubts. Like, there's plenty of them. I'm not going to go into all of them. Just turn on crypto Twitter and you'll see them.
I mean, the fact that you just said
But-
sixth is like your downside. Like you're not saying it's ninth inning or it's like
No, not for me.
it's not closing
I don't
time.
think so. No. But my point is, like, I don't know. I'm not trying to deploy.
You're fully allocated.
Well, it just doesn't even make sense to deploy. You deploy at 1,200, 1,700,
Yeah.
1,800, 2,100, 2,500 ETH. There's so many opportunities to do that, and I absolutely took those opportunities. I'm not deploying now. I feel like an idiot if I deployed now.
Man's
personally.
fully allocated.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the risk level's too high. I get it. That's smart.
Ben Cohen.
What if you had a lot of cash that you needed to deploy and you were not fully allocated to, like, generally speaking, and you were willing to, like, allocate further to the crypto bucket? Sure.
Well,
But I actually would rather allocate to the, like, the indexes, the
NASDAQ bucket?
the NASDAQ bucket,
okay, that's
the
interesting.
index fund bucket. I mean, that's where I'm seeing that we're not necessarily in the same positioning as we are in crypto. I see a longer term, higher upside that is less volatile and that I don't have to worry about as much as I have to worry about crypto. So I'd much rather allocate to that bucket if I was going to deploy further.
Because like Nick's article, for instance, was basically pointing out that like people are largely cash allocated. Like they have like way overweight cash because you can earn 5.5%, and that becomes stimulative because they're just getting airdropped money.
Yeah.
So like those guys, that's the point. Like that's the step 4 is like they move from cash into risk assets.
It's another
Yeah.
good point because, like, I think I mentioned in previous podcasts, like I have borrowed against my stock portfolio in the past to invest in the limited partner real estate, right? I think it's a good little arbitrage play. I'm definitely not doing that now, but if interest rates go back down and my stocks are still way up, there's clearly more room now to leverage up if I wanted to. I don't think I will, but like, I imagine there's other people who are like, well, I could do that, or I could start doing it. People haven't done it before. You mentioned Benjamin Cohen. I think Benjamin Cohen's in line with Armon. The risk levels on ETH are a little too high to be DCAing.
Are they in the neutral zone? Where are they?
They're kind of like just above, like 0.6 on a scale of 0 to 1.
That doesn't sound good
Yeah.
after like a pretty hefty drawdown.
Yeah, I know, right? You're like, wait, but I thought now it would be a good time.
Damn.
Anyway,
It wasn't even that big of a drawdown, honestly. Like, I
We
don't
went
know.
from I don't even know where we're at.
4K
these days.
to
3K,
35.
4K to 3K.
We're not at 3, are we?
yeah.
We went down to like 28.
Sorry to break it to you.
Oh, 3, yeah. 3 and 50, huh?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, you're right.
Um,
Okay, that was hefty.
Okay, well, yeah, shout out to Fallacy Alarm for that article. I think it was a fun one to share. Before we get into last topic of the day, let's give a shout out to Magic Spoon. So go to magicspoon.com/alfalfa. Use the code alfalfa at checkout. You get $5 off the variety pack. Cocoa, fruity, peanut butter, and frosted. This has 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and 4 to 5 grams of net carbs. About 140 calories per serving. In all the friendlies you can think of: keto-friendly, gluten-friendly, grain-free, soy-free. Yeah, we eat it out of the box. Probably eat more than 140 calories worth, but check it out. Go to magicspoon.com/alfalfa and check it out. Support the pod, get a discount, and if you or the kids don't like it, they'll refund your money with no questions asked. Thanks, Magic Spoon. Appreciate it.
That's a good bargain.
Good.
Money back guarantees.
Great bargain. Okay,
Need
so
one
this
of those for crypto.
yeah.
Would you give your money back in crypto right now?
No.
Also, I was thinking, like, if you happen to buy higher, I don't know, maybe some did, but like you could, if you were buying at like 4K or something.
I just told you about higher. What do you mean some did?
Well, I'm saying like you should sell it and buy it back like in the next minute. Might as well take care of the no wash sale rule. Take the L on your taxes. You'll lower cost basis, but like might as well take it now in case you have other profits to
Interesting.
write it off
Okay.
against. Little pro tip for you, Mr. financial advisor.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay. So this was a question from the Discord submitted by Larry. I don't know if that's his username, but Larry submitted this one.
Larry.
Okay.
Big layer.
Big Larry says, what career would you do if you couldn't be doing what you're doing now? What are we doing now?
We're making pods, boys.
What do you guys actually do here?
I do this.
You see my stapler?
Yeah. All right.
I like this.
Yeah,
I would
for,
do this.
for people who know, I have an e-commerce company. Armand's got a tech startup called Steno, and Eric is a financial advisor, manages money for other people. So in Universe 2.0, what are you guys
Parallel
doing?
universe?
Yeah, what are you doing?
Do you have to do something different? Okay.
Are you exactly where you want to be?
Yeah.
Okay,
Love that.
same. But also, there's
It's hard
like,
to answer.
but there's other versions of the multiverse where EJ here is also thriving. It's just like a different look.
Right.
Ooh,
You
can I
know?
pick one out for you?
Yeah.
Okay. You're still an intern at the Chargers. Okay.
Yeah.
You're about to approach 40, but you're still an intern. Okay. But you're like, okay, this guy needs to die and this guy needs to get fired, and then I'm GM of the Chargers.
Yeah,
you're like one
two
death and
steps away.
one fire away from being GM of the Chargers.
Yeah.
And like, you're probably not so happy right now, but like it's like
Yeah,
within
making
your grasp.
$29,000 a year.
Yeah, exactly. But it's within your grasp, and you're happy and hopeful. What do you
Yeah.
think about that alternative?
That is
universe?
that is a fun version. I've like talked about this version of myself at length on this pod because like I think like the multiverse of my preference would be that, but I have a new one for you after you guys go too.
Ooh.
But yeah, that's my number one. And it wasn't even Chargers. There was also Lakers. I had an opportunity. I went to school with the owner, so like could have gotten in there.
The buses.
The buses. Yeah, Joey, who is the lieutenant governor of the Lakers today. Shout out, JB.
Mhm.
I could have got in there. My college roommate was offered an internship with Billy Bean at the Oakland A's,
Ooh,
which I could have weaseled my way into, I think. And all of these were like potential multiverse tendrils.
Would
I
you
would
have been
explored.
a Moneyball type of GM, or would you be more like guy looks like a ball player type of GM?
You know what I think my specialty is like getting along with the Alan Trammels of the world. Like the career ball player, but then like weaving in a little statistics in a way that they can accept because they really hate like the nerd bombers.
Yeah.
But they do like somebody who can like weave it. And I think that was kind of my strength,
So
maybe.
you deliver the Moneyball stats like, hey, you should take a few pitches,
Yeah,
up at bat
maybe.
type of thing.
Maybe. I mean, this is that's a pipe dream, but it would be a fun one. What about you guys? You guys are more reluctant to share, I think, because like I've talked about this a lot.
Why do you think I'm reluctant?
Well, maybe you just
I
have
don't know.
way more other things to share, and I've just talked about this. I don't know.
No, I mean, I remember when I freshman year of college, and they're like, okay, what major do you want to do and all this, and I was like, well, I just want to like own my own business. I didn't even know what I wanted to own. It wasn't like a certain category, but I was like, okay, well, I need money in order to start this said business, right? I don't know how much I need, but I need a job in which I can like earn a disproportionate amount for the amount of like age, experience, and skills I have. And that one seemed to be like clearly sales. Like any sales job, you can earn more than the average. And I was like, okay, if I can earn well above the average, then I can save up that money to parlay into this hypothetical business that I want to own and start one day. And so that's what I did. And it actually worked to an extent. It didn't like go from sales job straight to business, but it allowed me to like earn way more than I would have like as a 21-year-old,
Yeah, no doubt.
taking, the management training program at Geico or Target,
Sales guys just fucking rake it in if you can sell.
Yeah, and it's like a known trait and skill that you can learn from books, right? Like you don't need to necessarily have a mentor. Like you can fuel yourself with enough knowledge to be like, I'll just go sell something. So I think the alternative would have been like enterprise software sales. I don't know for what for, but like as I started getting to sales, I like kind of got a knack and a liking for these really long sales cycles
With
where
where you feast if you close it, you're
yes,
feasting.
you're raking in a ton of money. We have a mutual friend, but like he early on got to start at Oracle, and the guy was making like high six figures a year, and I was like, how the fuck are you doing this? He's like, I'm a closer, buddy. Like I'm a
buddy.
top producer. Like I bring in whales, and I was like, you can do that? Like you're not even that. And he'd be first person to tell you, like, I'm not even that smart. Like, you know, I just do the things necessary, you know, to close these deals. And I'm good with people, and I listen to them and I try to solve their problems. And I was like, holy smokes. And so when I was doing consulting, like I was consulting, but I was also bringing in these clients, these management consulting clients. And oftentimes they were longer sales cycles. You had to like pitch to multiple decision makers. Like there might be 3 or 8, and they have their own different needs. And I found it fascinating. And like I got really into profiling different buyers, like based upon the language they use. You could like, oh, this is this type of buyer, this is this type of buyer. And the sales process was like really fun in terms of like creating the proposal and like actually solving the problem that they have, but also like laying out the land of the deal. And
yeah,
like,
you love striking the deal. You love
Yeah.
negotiating that
and
deal.
I was like, oh my God, this person's like this. So when we say this during the presentation, you're going to look at this person and you're going to say this specific thing because that is what's going to like trigger them. And I found that like really fascinating. And it was also really high pressure, right? Because these are like big deals that you're closing that are consequential. And so, you know, you have to perform in those. And I found it kind of fun and challenging. And also high reward, right?
I could see you thriving in that environment for sure, but I don't think that's the one that I had you pegged
Oh,
for.
you had another one in mind? Because like
for you, yeah.
Shit. All right, Armand, you go. Then I want to hear the
Hold
alternative.
on. While Armand's thinking, can I get one of those high noons?
Yeah. Oh, so I opened this one. I took a sip. It's disgusting.
I'll
and
take it.
You can have it.
Thanks, bud.
What flavor?
It's passion fruit.
Oh my god, that's my favorite fruit.
What? Well, take
I'm
a sip of that. Let me know if that screams passion fruit to you.
Passion fruit is your favorite fruit.
Yeah, I'm Hawaiian, bro. Lilikoi.
You're an Island boy.
What would you do?
So can we?
So-
You want to set some parameters on this? Is it like you
Yeah,
can choose anything,
sure.
or
I mean, well, what comes to mind for me is just generally that, again, you know, I wouldn't really want to do anything else. I love what I do.
Oh, I got one for you.
But if I'm doing something else because I'm forced to do something else for a living, I would remove, like, I would set the parameters at, like, it can't be anything like what I'm doing. Because I feel like I'm just kind of cheating if I say, like, I'm going to do this other kind of similar job.
Startup? Like a
You know,
different
this
startup?
other startup or this other job as a whatever, not be an entrepreneur, but be an employee of this type. So it just feels like different, like the same fruit, but like slightly different flavor. So it just feels like for me, like, I don't know. Not
You
a
want me
good
to toss
answer.
one to you that I think, or you got one?
No, I got like a general one.
I think I like where we're going with this. Is like
I just don't find that interesting is what I'm trying to
I
say.
like where we
to
started
say
with
that.
like within the realm of like feasibility as well. Like if we weren't just like talking about like our like when we're childhood dream job kind
Yeah.
of thing. Like I want to be an astronaut.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
something. Like we were talking like kind of real.
Right. I would probably, if I was going to go in a completely different direction in life, I probably would have gone more toward academia,
Yes.
and I would probably be a writer,
Okay.
like a writer / educator, lecturer of some kind.
That's exactly what I had. But like
Yeah.
I imagine you maybe teaching about philosophy, like you would study philosophy and maybe teach it, but you wouldn't write about philosophy. Like you'd write like tangential to philosophy, maybe like a more human behavior type one. I don't know where, but your like main job would be like, I'm a professor at this college, digging into philosophy. You read it, you teach it, but then like you write off. I don't know what it would be, but it's like not philosophy. You wouldn't like regurgitate what you're reading and just
No.
write a book about that. It'd
No.
be something around that. I don't know, tag cloud. What do you think
Yeah.
about that?
Like, yeah, exactly. I think like something like Jordan Peterson's career, but like instead of spending like 30 years teaching, I would have more quickly gotten into the let me post these lectures on YouTube. Let me go out there and give talks to like not students that are sitting on Facebook while I'm lecturing and not knowing what hit them.
Okay, that's exactly what I was gonna say.
Because I look
gonna
back at those
say-
videos, I'm like, you fucking idiots. Like they're just sitting and texting and on their computers on Facebook, and it's like they didn't realize what was in front of them. So I don't
Jordan
really
Peterson
like
was
the
a
small
university lecturer at first.
group for his whole career.
I didn't know that.
Well, he's a clinician. He's a clinician
I thought that's what he did.
and a lecturer and
Okay.
a professor at University of Toronto. So he's doing both. He was seeing patients. He was teaching, and then was like, "Let me post these on YouTube." And then was like, "Oh, okay, people are finding these very interesting." And then tried to keep his job, and then all the controversy happened and all that stuff. My point is, I like the idea of some type of teaching, but for me, I don't think it would be in like a traditional sense of teaching. I think that's kind of broken and outdated. So maybe it'd be like teaching in an entrepreneurial way, the way that he is now, actually, where he tours.
It's
he does the
exactly what I
talks,
thought,
he
dude.
jumps
Life
on the
coach.
stages.
Life
No,
coach.
that's actually, I don't know if that's a compliment.
that
No, but you would have done it before him.
I would have never been a life coach. Not a life coach.
Wait,
I'm
is a
talking-
life coach a pejorative?
A life coach is I don't want to disrespect life coaches, but yeah, like it's a life coach compared to like Jordan Peterson is like one is like a guy who turns on his computer and has no experience and just calls himself a life coach and gets like a certification. And then like a Jordan Peterson is like a lifelong academic, you know, who happens to share, you know, kind of like philosophy and psychology and advice like that. Yeah. I think life coach took on a very different meaning over the last like 10 years where it's like, you know, a mom who teaches yoga and is giving other
Yeah,
people
yeah,
advice.
Well, I was picturing more like a
who shouldn't be.
I was picturing like a Tony Robbins. Like that's a
Well,
life
even
coach.
Tony Robbins wouldn't call himself a life coach. I think it's his that word has taken on like a very, yeah,
Okay, it's got
Yeah.
a negative connotation.
it does. I think. I mean, do you think so?
Yeah, get up with the times, dude.
Okay, well I got one for Nick.
Okay.
Nick was always going to be a CIA agent, and I don't know why you didn't lead with that. Where were you on that? You were supposed to be a CIA operative.
I didn't speak another language.
Yeah, that's the only thing holding you back. You could probably learn one of those. I've seen you learn things in life.
I think I wanted to like do intelligence work. Like an operative is like, first of all, there's like a million people in line for that position. You know, I've like talked to people who work at the CIA, and they're like, "Yeah, good luck, brother." There's only so many posts, and of course, everyone wants to be that, you know, like operating officer. But like, there's a bunch of analyst positions, so yeah, you'd probably just get stuck analyzing like photos and telling us
Okay.
what you think about those photos,
Okay,
which also
perhaps.
be really cool.
Perhaps, but that's almost like me wanting to be GM, but I don't end up being GM. I'm like a supporter for the GM. That's fine.
Yeah, the kind of like tests you go through are pretty fascinating. Like the tests themselves, I think like if you found them fun, you'd be like, "Ooh, I want to do this more." But I just found the idea of like there's this layer of knowledge that you know, right? And we get fed to us. Not that it's like you know, planned, but just that there's only certain like surface level of knowledge, but there is always like the real story of what's going on and what are the like forces at play. And like I was like, man, I really want to know those things. And I'm
So it
pretty
was like a curiosity based motivation.
yeah. And what I learned is that like, okay, in those roles, you don't really know everything. It's not like they're like, well, here's the like whole world and here's all the like secrets. It's not like you have access. You get compartmentalized and you know you're like on this one thing and your just job is to do this. But you know, like eventually prepping, you know, the daily presidential brief, you know, of like, hey, here's today what's going on in the world that like you should know. Like that would be fascinating. Like
Fun job.
absolutely fascinating. In terms of like it affects a lot of people. It, you know, you tend to understand more about how the world works.
So I always had a question for you because I knew this was like sort of like a river existing as an aquifer underneath all of your edifices. But my question was like I know you to be this guy who like thinks beyond America's interests, you know, like just like all things. Like, but if you do that job, you're like siloed.
No, I think I would be like, no, like I'm doing this for like one country because I want it to be the best. And like I, you know, want its best interests.
I mean, I think you have
almost
to be right?
regardless of like what it means for the other interests.
Like in any job, like
Yeah.
if you're performing that job, you can't be like nuanced. Really, you got to be like, no, America. You gotta-
Yeah, I think that's what it would be, and like you have to be curious in that role. I think you'd be more curious about what's happening, but like no, the goal would be like you win, and you win at like all costs.
Yeah, has to be.
which I'm like for as well. Like
Yeah.
I guess I want smart people in that role, but I just don't know you like that because I know you to be this guy who's like thinking multidimensionally, like what's sort of like morally correct, et cetera. You know,
And I think you would find like probably like there's a dogma within any institution, and like you'd be like, okay, well, yeah, we could do this very simple thing, but if we like play the long game a little bit, you know, and make this other interest happy in the time being, you know, maybe we can kind of like make things better for us and everyone. And I don't know if those types of roles do well. Also, you got to live in Virginia, and like I noticed one thing about all the like people I talked to, the books I read, their personal lives, absolute fucking shit show, absolute shambles. Like,
wait, because they're always on the go, they're always out of town, like abroad.
yeah, you're always abroad. Like they end up marrying their colleagues because like those are the only people you're really around the most, and like it's also a lot easier. They said that like they kind of like groom and encourage that because like, well, the secrets stay within the house.
They've like selected your spouse almost, like
Yeah.
to be groomed alongside you.
Yeah, so there's like other
Mr.
things
and
I was
Mrs.
like,
Smith.
okay, this doesn't sound like you sacrifice a lot, right? And you have to be okay with that sacrifice. One of them being also you don't necessarily unlock financial freedom, you know, maybe until later in your life.
Yeah, do those guys? What do they do? They get big book deals at the end. Like, what do they do
No.
for money?
No, I think you go work for like Twitter and Facebook and you know, or you start a consulting firm and you're like, I'll, you know, help you on like global security. And you'd be surprised how many like even medium-sized companies want to know what's going to affect the price of like XYZ commodity, you know, and that kind of like analysis and just like even connections, right? Like if you have a security clearance, that helps you gain access to information. A lot of them maintain their security clearance after they leave.
Can you believe how fluently he's talking about this, and he wanted to say enterprise sales?
Yeah, I didn't get it that I did. This is the real answer.
That's what a CIA
This
agent
is
would
the-
say.
This is the real answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, just to add on, and then I think maybe like a deeper, more interesting question for you guys. I wanted to ask as well. Like, what does this mean? But yeah. So if I was not doing like, if I was not some like cognitive psychologist / Jungian analyst / philosophy student, even within that answer is this idea of like what is antithetical to what I'm already doing and what is kind of just like generally the opposite sort of like mode of being, which is like I am like this fiduciary and this business person, and in this other world it's about being the revolutionary and it's about being the creator and the artist. So if I wasn't being the fiduciary and the entrepreneur and the founder, I'd want to be a revolutionary. And I'd want to do that through art. And like my art tends to be to have the opportunity to share and express an idea that I've deeply studied, or to write about that and to deconstruct it. So that's why it's like the Robert Greene life, where you know he is basically like a sort of a Jordan Peterson as well, right? But in a non-academic sense. So if it's not someone like a Robert Greene, Jordan Peterson, then it's like, what's my art? And I would just like cultivate that art of writing or speaking, or maybe I would literally go into actual, I don't know, could be photography, could be painting, could be whatever.
Like some kind of
and
like physical
expressing,
art.
yeah, like a physical art.
Photography for sure.
And if it
maybe.
wasn't that, then it would be the one other like big thing that I would do with my life would be like something that gets me to travel in style.
Oh, I could see that.
So like Nat Geo photographer, you know, like that
Yeah.
dream job of like you're getting paid to travel the world, to talk to people, to photograph, to go to the most remote edges of the world and
I think he
crazy
could pull
places.
off like a Anthony Bourdain style. Like
That's
he's got a
exact-
good voice for
I
it.
think I think it's more like that than like the
Like,
Nat
if
Geo
I could have
behind the
that,
camera.
yeah.
Like you're in front of the camera guy.
Yeah, and I don't know if it would be like food related or I think what it would be related is actually what it really would be is like you go and you have a conversation with somebody.
Yeah.
And you guys ever you guys familiar with Humans of New York?
Yes.
Yeah.
I own that. I
Imagine
think
the
maybe you bought me a
Nat
copy.
Geo World Traveler version of that. That's a show,
Okay.
and I'd just be the guy to like sit and talk to someone on a bench in like Laos or Cambodia and like reveal their life story to people.
That's exactly.
Fuck, I need to go do that.
That's exactly what I see.
That's incredible.
That's exactly what I see. And also, like, there's no like age ceiling on that. Like, you can still do that.
Yeah.
Like, sort of
I
like,
think we just came up with my retirement.
like you can
Yeah.
like bring that tendril back into this
it's a
multiverse.
future pod.
Okay, here.
That's a future pod.
I had another question for you, because we kind of like, well, I think we found it, but like when you were talking before, you were saying like you wanted to maybe write about things or like communicate some like deep knowledge about like philosophy and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if you had, and maybe you don't, but like if you had something that like was just right beneath the surface right now that you're like really interested in, that you were like, this would be like the topic of my book today.
Ooh, that's a good question. Well, one thing though to express is like the difference between sharing an idea and like that word coaching. I think that like the reason I have like a toward the idea of a coach is that you're kind of in the business of trying to change someone's mind about something, and I don't give a shit. What I care about is the expression of the idea and having the best ideas just like fully live, and for people to have exposure to those various ideas, including myself, because a lot of the times when you actually have to go and seek those ideas, like that art of actually going and being able to talk to people and study a topic extremely deeply and then be like, here's what I've synthesized out of all of that, and I've come up with maybe slightly something more unique in terms of the approach of how to look at this, which is basically what a PhD is like bringing something unique and novel to the world that isn't just
You have to bring something new.
it has to be something new, and if it's not something new, then it's like it's all you're doing is you're remixing and
You're
regurgitating,
memorizing, yeah.
and you're this guy that just like it's a bit of a charlatan act, right? And I'm not interested in these charlatan acts. I'm interested in the possibility of original thought, but of course you have to stand on the shoulders of giants in order to achieve original thought. I'm very interested in that. So if it was something interested, I don't know, so many things like
You're getting really
getting excited.
Yeah, you're getting very
I
excited
think
about
it would
it.
be something around the idea of how your past experience has shaped your mental models.
Love this.
And I think like it's basically that quote that I shared, which I think is the greatest quote ever for me, which is that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you'll call it fate. So if I was really going to dedicate 5 years to studying something, it would be that. How is it possible that so many people's entire lives and existence and beliefs is shaped by so much unconscious garbage? And what can they do to make that, to shine a light on that, to make it conscious, and to rebuild their identity and their character? Back to last episode, how do you take life by the horns and actually recreate and not even recreate, because you didn't even create it in the first place.
Well, and
It was given to you. That identity was just given to you like a mask, and then you wore it for so long that you become lost in it. You became lost in it, and it became autopilot. And uncovering that, both for myself and as an opportunity to share with others what I found, would be really interesting.
well, I agree. And how do we spit in the face of the deterministic folks who believe that it's all written in advance and you have no control? I hate this notion.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, besides the sports
Oh yeah, I got another one.
ventures, what did you get?
Oh yeah, this was like almost, I think, like another one that was like a near miss in this version of this multiverse was a reality TV actor.
Oh my God, you never
You
brought this
almost
up.
had that.
Yeah,
Are you
Yeah.
gonna disclose your resume?
yeah. I'm happy to disclose the resume. MTV reality TV show veteran.
Yep.
Couple shows, and like what I liked about this, what I liked about this, man, it's so easy. That's what I liked about it. Like if you so reality TV for guys who have like seen reality TV but never like been inside of it or been on it, there are like elements of reality TV that are real. You know, like you are interacting on some real basis, and then they're like cutaway scenes where there are like comedic joke writers. They're like actual comedians who like are non-performing, like they're not on stage, but they're like comedy writers, and they'll also write for like normal TV shows. Like they'll write for like This Week Tonight, or they'll write for, you know, Jon Stewart or whatever. So they're like writers, but they literally observe you as you're like doing this reality TV thing. So imagine like mine were like dating shows. So like imagine you're doing Bachelor in Paradise or something. This is something Mina watches. So you're doing Bachelor in Paradise. You're like a guy and you're like trying to like, I don't know what the premise is really. Like trying to like hook up with a girl probably. Yeah. Okay. So you go on a date together and that date is real. Like they're filming that. But then there's like a host of cameramen and writers that are following along with this date. And as they're following along, they're like taking notes. So like in the conversation, they're like writing down like when to inject the joke, so that like, you know, like in like the normal sequence of your real date, they can cut away and be like, like.
But is that like for you to do to perform later? Are they saying, hey, it'd be funny if you kind of like said this?
you do like the cutaway scenes after, and then like they just like weave them in. And what I liked about it is that your level of like needing to do anything was so fucking easy, and the reward was so high. Like, you know, we do this podcast now, and there are people who are like, hey man, I really liked what you did on that podcast. Thank you for giving me this stock advice or whatever. And that's rewarding, right? Like it makes you feel good. But like right after you do a fucking reality TV show, people are like, oh my God, you're fucking awesome. I saw you on MTV. Cool. And it's like immediate. It's so simple, and you don't have to do anything.
Okay, so when you're doing these cutaway scenes and you're like reflecting back on the date, right? Do they have to coach you on like to talk in the present, right? Like, because you can't be like, well, I said this, I did this, and that's how I felt. But like, they're always like talking as if they're in real time of the date's progression. So like, what kind of coaching do they give you?
No coaching.
No
just
coaching?
Like, no, they're just like, go on the date. And then they're just like taking their own notes and, you know, trying to weave in their little jokes as they can.
Do they ever tell you to be like more expressive, emotive, excited?
That was the entire thing, brother.
Really?
So like,
That's what he taught us.
yeah, we probably need to do this on every Alfalfa podcast. But like before every scene that I filmed, all of them, like it was like a panel of people that were like cameramen and joke writers and producers that were just like, more energy, more energy, more energy, more energy.
Just screaming at you more energy.
Like all the time, more energy.
Wow.
And
How else are you going to get people's attention?
And like, I noticed that we come in, we're like, and we're back for another version of Alfalfa Podcast. You know, like, but if it was like the real shit, they would be like, more energy, more energy.
Why don't you just yell at us more then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is your thing.
It's a different version of the multiverse, boys.
I like that for you. You think you could have kept her like a long-standing career into your late 30s?
It would have been like a little uglier, you know. I'd probably have like a drug addiction and you know, like a couple divorces.
I don't think you'd have a wife.
Yeah, a couple divorces.
Yeah.
It would have been uglier.
I feel like the worst combination of like fame and fortune is no fortune and a lot of fame, and I feel like
I don't know
maybe
if I
they're in that
like what you
quadrant.
described. I got nervous at the thought of like, hey, you know, like saw you on MTV. Like,
well,
I
I was only using MTV as like the realistic version of what I thought the future could hold because I had done it. Like I would really like to be, if I was being honest, like a little more cemented as like an actor that like did real things. I think, but
Oh, this one will catch you guys by surprise. I would be an actor. I would
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, actor's sick.
I think that sounds so fun.
Yeah,
I think you got to pick it up obviously early, and not everyone goes to acting school, but at least you become obsessed, and that becomes your 10,000 hours to really get great at it. But I love cinema. I think it's
Same.
amazing. Yeah.
Same. And you know what? Like when I did those like reality shows, one thing that set me apart from those guys, that like all the comedians, like I would like get drinks with the comedians afterwards. They liked that I didn't want to become an actor. You know, like at the time.
Oh, because
I was
everyone
like,
else wanted.
I was like a sports guy, and like everybody else wanted to, like, they're like, this is my shot. This is my stepping stone. And they're like, no, you're on an MTV dating
You kept getting
show.
invited back. So
Yeah.
you must have done something right.
And I went global.
Huh, I didn't know
They
that.
syndicated me.
Ooh.
Oh, syndication.
Germany, Australia.
Get your quarterly checks or
Wait,
what?
what was the show called?
Date my mom.
That's a great title. Wait, so you had to?
Date some moms.
Wow, nice,
Yeah, you said it was easy, man.
I got stories, boys.
nice. We're gonna need one of those on the pod.
Yeah.
We haven't
We'll have
heard this.
a reality TV secrets revealed.
Yeah.
All right, guys. That was fun. Steven, we miss you very much. We'll hopefully see you next week. Armand, are you going to be here next week?
No, sir.
Ooh. Okay.
I'm going fly fishing.
Ah.
Well, I'll be doing other things, but some fly fishing.
Okay.
Sounds incredible.
I'll be adventuring throughout Colorado.
Lovely.
Yeah, hopefully not seeing any bears or mountain lions.
Yeah, get present. Get present
And
with a moment in the
getting
river.
present. I'm taking a nice little nature break. Gonna
Love
go
that.
bathe in nature.
All right. Lovely.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we'll see you here next week, Wednesday at 5 p.m. PST on YouTube. Thank you, everyone, for joining us in the chat. We love you lots, and we will see you next week. Bye-bye.